Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Would you like even more content? Here's my Patreon. Now onto the stories. Case file number 1266, written by Good Lurks. My 600-mile-per-hour road trip. I have a weird driving time story from Central California. This was about 2005. I was about 275 miles from LA, driving from San Francisco, and all of a sudden, I drove into this incredibly dense fog bank. I dropped my speed from 80 miles per hour down to 25 miles per hour, because the fog is incredibly thick and feels like it's sticking to the car. I get a little peeved because the drive is going to take so much longer, but drive for a few minutes and glance down at my clock and it reads 12:41. I drive for what feels like 15 minutes and glance back down at my clock and it still reads 12:41. Now I'm more pissed at the fog because I think that the moisture and humidity from the fog have shorted out my dash clock. I keep driving at 25 miles per hour for what feels like an hour, but notice that my gas needle isn't dropping. But I absolutely should have had to stop for gas by now. I keep driving in this fog and looking at my gas needle that doesn't seem to move. And I even thumb it up a few times to check if it's stuck. I know time is passing because I'm listening to music and I've listened to 2 entire CDs, so I'm guessing I've spent about 2 hours in this fog. Finally, with a weird lurch, I come out of the fog and my gas needle immediately hits empty. Luckily, I see a gas station sign for the next exit and pull off to get gas and use the bathroom. I walk into the gas station and the clock reads 12:57. I ask the attendant if the clock is right and he says it is. I realize that I'm just outside of Bakersfield and somehow I have driven 115 miles in a little over 15 minutes. Oh, and my dash clock is fixed and reading the correct time again. So if the universe hit rewind on you driving, I got the pause button. Case notes are file 1266. My 600-mile-per-hour road trip. Another dose of fog, another dose of glitch. Coincidence? Nope. The fog is a sign of a distortion. Like Neo seeing the black cat walk by twice. In the simulation we live in, it's not a déjà vu that does it, or at least not the only sign. And no, fog doesn't always mean there's a disturbance in the code. It's a natural weather phenomena. But its association with so many glitches can't be ignored, in my opinion. You were in kind of a dead pocket of spacetime is my guess. Still driving, the road manifested beneath the tires, the car engine functioning, using gas, but that information was only relayed to the true universe when you exited the fog, the lurch that you felt. Until then, nothing was truly processing. It only became reality when you exited the dead space. Bonus file written by Waytoloseit, the Christmas Guardian. I had planned to jump from a great height near where I live. I was just out of energy and love. I had no more life to give, if that makes any sense. It was right before Christmas, and it was snowing. I stopped at a hotel near the bridge to mooch off their Wi-Fi to finish my notes. I was just about done when my battery died. Fine. I checked into a room to charge my laptop. As I was waiting, I began to get hungry. I felt burdened by hunger, more annoyed than anything, so I decided to go get something to eat. This hotel was located in a small town, and the only restaurant was right next door. I was over, and there was a closed sign on the door, but the lights were on, and I could hear people inside, so I went in. A gray-haired man came out of the back and told me that he and his employees were having a Christmas party, but their chef could whip something up. I go into the main dining room and wait around a while before getting up to grab myself a beer. This big black guy comes out from the kitchen and asks me what I want to eat. I tell him that a burger and fries would do, or whatever is easiest for him. I go sit down in a booth and ponder what a big black guy is doing out in the middle of nowhere, because the area we are in is pretty close-minded. Anyhow, he comes out from the kitchen with a burger, fries, another beer, and one for himself. He promptly sits down and joins me. My thoughts for my note are promptly pushed away as I become annoyed by his presence. He begins talking to me, telling me about his life, just filling silence, you know? Then he tells me what I'm about to do is a big mistake. If I don't care about living, why not do exactly what made me happy? Why not do all the things I had been meaning to do but put off for work, for solving other people's problems? He said a lot of other things too, some of which felt like he knew me and felt a bit foreboding, but in a good way, like somehow he knew that I would overcome all this suffering and lead a good life. By the end of the conversation, I was too exhausted to finish my note. I decided to finish it in the morning. When I woke up, I decided to give myself 1 year. Just 1 year to try everything that man suggested. I decided to really, truly do everything I could to be happy. To really give my all to doing the things that I had been putting off. I decided to walk next door and see if I could find him or at least leave him a note. When I walked in, no one knew what I was talking about. There was no Christmas party. No black guy had ever worked there, and they closed at 5 p.m. the evening before due to the weather. I walked away stunned, but I couldn't really say surprised. The whole evening seemed surreal. To this day, I have no idea who that man was. I only know that I owe him my life. The changes that I made that year after I met him eventually led to me meeting my husband and having my son. We stopped there on a summer road trip this past year, and I cried when I realized how close I was to the edge. I can't imagine not knowing my husband or my son. I think of that man often, and I call him my angel. Frankly, I don't care if he is or not, but he will always be the angel that saved my life. I hope someday I can pass it on. Case notes for the bonus file, The Christmas Guardian. While I am no psychologist or therapist, I strongly agree with the suggestion of giving yourself a year, assigning yourself goals, challenges even, to conquer and surmount. As human beings, we thrive against adversity. Reminds me of the line from the Matrix movie where Agent Smith is talking to Morpheus, explaining how the original Matrix was supposed to be a pure paradise. Or was this the architect talking to Neo? Well, one of those. It was supposed to be a Garden of Eden with no difficulties, pure bliss, no pain, no struggle. Yet the human mind revolted against this. And yes, this is just a movie, but I think if there really was a simulation like this, the human mind wouldn't cope well in pure bliss like that. We need weights to bear, mountains to climb, oceans to explore. In my opinion, depression is usually rooted in a lack of purpose. Well, it sounds like you found yours in your family, and that's beautiful. Now, as for the Christmas event itself, it had to be an induced hallucination, probably from your guardian angel. It can't just be a spirit, because you ate physical food, and I don't think spirits can conjure that up from the ether, or spirits actively running a grill and cooking you a burger. That'd be a neat trick. Wouldn't mind having one of those around. And now time for the quote of the day. Nothing gives one person so much advantage over another as to remain always cool and unruffled under all circumstances. Thomas Jefferson. Another founding father, very respectable, and with a lot of wisdom, and a lot of courage. And I think that's what this really represents. No one is cool and calm always internally, but it's the external manifestation that becomes reality. So if you're struggling inside, nervous, anxious, and you let those emotions unravel out into the world, then it ripples out and affects everyone else. But if you contain them, at least during the event, maybe deal with it after, but during the event, being stoic and calm and collected, even in an emergency, there's so much value in that, and indeed it gives you a tremendous advantage. And not just an advantage like over other people, but to help people. If you're cool and calm and collected, you can help people. You can still think clearly. That's a power right there. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.